Nitai Go Premanande. Hare Krishna. Some question?
Yes, there are some questions from people who are very interested in Krishna consciousness but not devotees yet, from Kazan, Russia. They say, we are interested in the opinion of an official authorized representative, opinion of a guru based on the Shastras. First question, what was before God created the universe and what will be after its destruction? Where can we read about it?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he is describing, summarizing Mahaprabhu's teachings and giving a synopsis, you can say, yes. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumarto Mahan. So he mentions the Srimad Bhagavatam as the Pramanam Amalam, pure evidence. Meaning, what is revealed there, it's not based upon any consideration of mundane criteria. Because we're told there are Puranas, the type of Vedic literature for people in the mode of ignorance, people in the mode of passion, people in the mode of goodness. So, to accommodate everyone. So, but here, the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're told, it doesn't have any tinge of mundane consideration. And it's mentioned at the beginning, Dharma projita kaitavo traparamo nirmat saranam satam. Kaitava, Dharma. Religion, sometimes Prabhupada rendering as cheating religion, or religion you can use religion for cheating. That's not going to be found in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So, in the Bhagavatam, there are descriptions of the creation. There are also, in a succinct form, some description in the Brahma Samhita, which is also favored by Mahaprabhu. But in the Bhagavatam, in answer to this question specifically, there are 4 verses called the nutshell slokas, aham evasam evagre, etc. And where we have Krishna saying, it is I who existed before the creation. It is only I that exists during the creation, and only I that exists afterwards. Right? So, this world, bhutva praliyate, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, it springs up and it's manifested for some time, and then again it winds up. Just like here, we're going through the seasons. And this time of year, so many insects and reptiles, they come out of the soil. And then they'll be very prominent for some time. And they'll go through the cycle of creation and generation. And then it'll all vanish. And then next year it'll happen again. So this sort of thing is described, and whether it's in the Puranas or elsewhere, that yasya prabhavato jagadanda koti vishesha vishuhari vibhuti benam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Saying from there the Vishnus, the Purusha avatars, one of which is Mahavishnu. And here we're told, with the outward going breath of Mahavishnu from the pores and the body of Mahavishnu, universes come out like golden eggs, and then they grow and expand to maybe 500,000 kilometers or 1,000,000 kilometers in diameter. That's during the outward going breath of Mahavishnu, and during the inward going breath, the whole creation winds up again. So according to the Vedic calculation, what is that? Maybe 311 trillion years, the amount of time. It's a relative time. There's stories in the Bhagavatam to give us some idea of time calculation. 14 varieties of planetary systems. Someone from a middle planetary system goes to Brahma Loka by mystic power to ask Brahma for a favor. When he arrives, Brahma is watching some heavenly apsara, dancing girls. They're dancing. And it's conveyed to that man that when their dance is finished, then Brahma will speak to you. But just wait, maybe 15 minutes, the dance will be finished, and she said, oh, I can wait. So they wait, the dance finishes after 15 minutes, Brahma says, how can I help you? And that man says, it doesn't matter now, the people I was concerned about, they died hundreds of thousands of years ago because of, jet lag. The time difference on Brahma Loka and the time difference on his Loka. But overall, I'm told, a little over 300 trillion years is the length of duration of a creation. Right? And then it all winds up. Right? And we could say as a footnote that even among scientists, the consensus view is the world has an expiration date. Whether it's 10 years to the 10th power, 10 years to the 12th power, to the 16th, there's some difference of opinion, but they're all in consensus that the world has an expiration date on it. That's what's meaning, bhutva praliyate. It will, as sure as it was created and is being maintained at the present, it will also be annihilated at another time. But according to Vedic understanding, again it will appear. And with each creation, there's the Vedas are, shall we say, gifted to Brahma. And the Vedas are the manual for the spiritual manual, the guidebooks, how to live in the material world. So the Vedas have certain information in them. But this is where things get interesting. We accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the Super Purana, Mahapurana, the ultimate evidence. But we know that Puranas come after the Vedas. And one meaning of the word Purana is to fulfill. So they're described as having a supplementary feature, or what do you say, supplementary aspect. They're helping to fully express what might have been given in the Vedas in a succinct or seed form. Just for example, with regard to the Vaman avatar, in the Vedas, it will say, Adbhutakram, describing the Supreme Lord, one way of describing him is, he of wonderful stride. That's all it says, actually. He of whose movement is wonderful and extraordinary. His step, his stride is adbhuta, astonishing. But in the Puranas, we have the full-fledged story of Vaman avatar, Trivikram, right, with 3 steps. We're told, how does Vamandev appear? You would think, if the pastime is going to be, he's going to take these gigantic steps, right? And we have stereotypical concepts of divinity within us. So we're thinking, well, the Vedas say, Adbhutakram, he of wonderful stride. And in this pastime, he's going to, and 1, 2, 3 steps, cover the whole universe. Then certainly this avatar must be gigantic. He must be huge to do that. Right? That's not Krishna Lila. That's not interesting to Krishna. His way of manifesting that pastime is to appear as a dwarf. Right? So, and a very charming dwarf, very beautiful. He has an umbrella. He looks like a brahmachari. He's very sweet, irresistible, and charming. He appears before Bali Maharaj as the Vedic kings. Different people, whether they're Brahmins or otherwise. Even Indira Gandhi used to every morning meet an hour with just ordinary people. They'd bring in a whole group of ordinary people and they go, Mataji, I have some problem. And she's like, okay. And then, So they bring Vamandev avatar there, and everyone, oh, he's so beautiful and charming. And what would you should give some charity to this little brahmachari. And he says, I would like 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj is thinking, just a boy, he's inexperienced in the world, he doesn't know what his own good is. I'm a king, I can give you so much. He's asking for 3 steps of land. I think you should ask for something more than that. And Vamandev says, well, I've heard that for one's spiritual life, it's not good to have more than you need. So, I'm concerned about my spiritual progress. I think 3 steps is enough for me. I don't need more than that. So Bali Maharaj, all right, suit yourself. And with 1 step, he covers the half of the universe. With the 2nd step, he covers the entire universe. So there's nothing left. And then he says to Bali Maharaj, you haven't fulfilled my request. And there's some fault in that. I asked you for 3 steps of land. You said I can have 3 steps of land, but I covered everything in 2. Now for the 3rd step, what am I to do? And we should say also, it was against the advice of his so-called guru, Shukracharya, who could recognize that this Vamandev had some divine radiance, persona. He told him, don't give him the 3 steps. He'll take everything from you. His guru is advising him against giving. And it's a famous explanation why. His guru says, there are certain times, and because Bali says, well, then I would be lying. And his guru says, well, there's certain times when lying is not bad. if your life is in danger, or there's no karmic reaction. If your life is in danger, someone's going to steal all your money. He starts listing all the different ways. One of which was, he said, in flattering women to bring them under control, lying is okay. Anyway, he's telling him all these, so you don't have to, he's about to take all your wealth, so you don't have to live up to that. But Bali is charmed, and actually he's a great devotee. He's a Mahajan, right? We know that. When the list of the 12 Mahajans is there, Bali Maharaj is in the list. He's a descendant of Prahlad Maharaj. So the father's a demon, Prahlad's a devotee, his son a demon, his son a devotee. You can never know what's going to happen. At any rate, so Vaman is pressing the issue. You said 3, I've only taken 2. What do I do with my 3rd? And Bali Maharaj, very heartfelt, and now he's completely overwhelmed spiritually and charmed. He said, place your 3rd foot in my heart. So in the sequence of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, there's an example of someone who achieved their siddha position through hearing, through kirtan, maybe it was Parikit hearing, Sukadev kirtan, Smaran, Prahlad, I forget, Archana, Vandanam, prayers, Akrura. Anyway, when it comes to Atmani Vedanam, that's Bali Maharaj. He offers himself. And then we find out, this is Krishna Lila. That is his intention all along. He wants Bali Maharaj's heart. We can talk about the creation and how it happens, and then the life forms come out and you get the opportunity to live as a human being and exercise your free will and establish an egocentric, exploitative center, try and extend the circumference of your exploitating capacity. And when you become exhausted doing these things, if you're fortunate, you may get the association of Krishna's devotee. There's a sloka in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam that says, Durlabha Manusha Labho, ends on Vaikuntha Priyadarshanam. It's very rare to get human life in this world. Right? We know that, even scientifically. Biologically speaking, it's rare. So it's very rare to get human life, but in this sloka it says, it's even more rare, Vaikuntha Priya Darshanam, to meet someone who's very dear to the Lord. And we can understand that ourselves now. In the aftermath, we recently commemorated the Tirobhav of Srila Gurudev, and there's Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Swami Maharaj, the great stalwarts. In this line, we can now understand that that is a rare opportunity that comes to one. So, really, all along, Vamandev, he wanted the heart of Bali Maharaj. The other things were taken away, in the sense we hear in the Bhagavatam, Yasyaham anugranami harishe tadanam shanai. When Parikit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami, why do the followers of Shiva have so much material opulence? And the Brahmins, Vaishnavas, followers of Vishnu, they're generally poor. And it's explained there that to have mundane wealth is not favorable to Krishna culture. Actually, it can take one away from that. So Anyway, it's a very beautiful pastime to shine a spotlight on the devotion in the heart of Bali Maharaj, but it's fully expressed in the Bhagavad Purana. So when it says fulfilled what's given in the Vedas, that's one way we see how what was given there in an abstract way or just indicated is fully expressed in the pages of the Bhagavatam. But another meaning of Purana is old or oldest, just like we say in that Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. Purana Purusham, saying although Krishna is the oldest person, he's Navayovana, he's eternally youthful and beautiful. So now we come to an interesting point to note. The Vedas, Rig Veda particularly, is considered the oldest religious book there is. Right? But the Puranas, they have information that predates the creation. So the Vedas are the oldest book in the creation. And the Puranas appear later. But actually, Srila Guru Maharaj explained, one of the reasons they're called Purana, they're older than the Vedas. How is that possible? The Vedas are the first books in the creation, the Puranas come later. Because they have information from previous creations. Right? Which is an astonishing thing. And back to the original point, which what was it about creation?
What was before God created the universe and what will be after its destruction?
So, and in the Bhagavatam, when Krishna said, Brahma, it is I who is existing before, now, and after, then we have to understand who is Krishna. When we say Krishna, what do we mean? The easiest way to understand it, when we say a king, implied is queen, subjects, kingdom, castle, throne, so many things. Just by indicating king, we can understand many things from that. So, Krishna, Radha and Krishna. And sometimes we hear Om described as that. I mean, Radha and Krishna, and also their extensions, including the Jiva Shakti. So, really, there's always and only Krishna. And that means Radha, Krishna, and their extensions. But from time to time, there's the necessity of a material creation to allow for rebellious souls or those who want to exercise their free will in a particular way to appear in this world, take one of, 8,400,000 life forms, or many of them, or all of them, and go on this sojourn through material existence, unless and until they come in connection with an agent of the Lord. That's also the purpose of the creation, to allow Krishna and his innumerable avatars and incarnations to appear here, to give the conditioned souls the opportunity to participate in those pastimes or hear about them and become liberated. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagwan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. But it's most fortunate souls who, wandering the length and breadth of the universe during those 311 trillion years, get a connection with Krishna's agent, the Vaishnava. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, Sangsaresmen Kanardopi Satsanga Sevadirninam, that the most valuable treasure in the world is to get the association of a devotee. So that's possible through the creation. Many things are. And when it's finished and all wound up again in some sukshma, subtle form within the Lord, the jivas enter who were not liberated. They're in a sleeping state there, sushupti, deep sleep. And when there's another creation, they come out at that time and they get an opportunity. And there are innumerable creations. So they'll repeatedly get the opportunity to express their free will through egocentrism or theocentric life, culminating in Krishna consciousness. But this is tiny. When one of the devotees of Mahaprabhu, Vasudev Datta, he was thinking, oh, people suffer, like the question the other night, they're suffering so much in forgetfulness of you, my Lord. And I'm thinking, just transfer all of their sinful reactions to me. Let me suffer that for them. And interestingly, and you could, if you were drawing a parallel to Christianity, Mahaprabhu said, it's not, why should someone have to suffer for that? Like when they make this point, and God, He sent His only begotten Son. Mahaprabhu said, that's not necessary. The long and short of it, it's not necessary that someone suffer for everybody's sins. I mean, I'm sorry to have to tell you this. This whole thing is totally it's not, Mahaprabhu was saying, just by your will, it's done. Not that you'll now, all right, then you'll have to suffer for all their sins because I am an angry God, I am a jealous God. No, that's not Krishna. Krishna's a playful God. So Mahaprabhu says, no, you don't have to do that. It's nice that you're offering yourself to do that, but it's not necessary. But by just your will alone, it can be. I can make that happen. And then it says, what? In the causal ocean, right? How big is the spiritual world? If in the causal ocean, it says, all these innumerable mundane universes are like a pot full of mustard seeds. Those who cook Indians know how tiny mustard seeds are, right? There's actually something that's even smaller than them, but we use mustard seeds. So he's saying, all those universes, they're like mustard seeds in a pot that's floating in an ocean. Right? So he says, say one of the mustard seeds falls out of the pot. He said, is there any loss? And then he says something that's kind of mystically interesting too. He said, if one who possesses crores of kamadhenu, means the surabhi cow, loses one she-goat, is it a loss? And he said, and even the whole pot of mustard seed, those are universes in the pot, if the whole pot, is there any loss? So we have to prepare ourselves to deal with the infinite. What is there when this isn't going on? What happens when, we're told, a portion of the spiritual sky is clouded? That's where the mundane world is. Right? Or we're talking about the Hera Panchami pastimes, where when Srivas Thakur, he wants to bring Swarup Damodar out. We know in the case of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, not only are great devotees concealing their position, sometimes they just out and out deceiving people to think of them in some way that's not entirely flattering. Right? What to speak of concealing their position? They're deceiving others from understanding. their position. The antithesis of the sahajya or the neophyte practitioner who wants to advertise their achievement. Right? And I call it the ostentatious display of achievement. Here, just the inverse. Madhavendra Puri running in the dead of night from the pratishta, the fame of being a devotee. Pundarik Vidyanidhi appearing to be a gross materialist to conceal his position. So, Srivas Thakur, they're there, Mahaprabhu, all the devotees, and he's Narada. And we know Narada can be a little mischievous at times. Like when Kangsa is starting to get a little soft and not, it looks like Krishna's appearance is going to be delayed. It's actually Narada who comes and poisons Kangsa's brain. Says, you better do something about this quick. And then he's sending out these wizards and witches to find the eighth child of Devaki. And just, we say, the Bengali people, they have such a high sanskar. It's like there are so many things said in the Western world that might have like a Christian tinge to it or some biblical thing. The Bengalis, when they're saying a person is in trouble, their saying is, who will kill you is already, was already born in Mathura. So anyway, Narada, he sometimes wants to swell the progress of a scene. So he says, in observing these pastimes where the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, comes after a few days, Jagannath has gone with his brother and sister to his hometown. Remember, he lives in Dwaraka with all the queens. So really he wants to see Radharani and Braja Gopis. But he is married. So he's telling his wife that he just wants to go back, the people in the hometown, they miss him. And he's going with his brother and sister. So she shouldn't think that anything unwholesome will happen. Brother and sister accompanying him now. But she's suspicious after a few days. And then very suspicious. So she mounts a golden throne bedecked with so many jewels on a palanquin with so many singers, dancers, musicians, in a great procession. She goes to the Shingadwar, the gate of the Jagannath temple, and they're like, they want Jagannath to come out. Actually, he's in Gundicha by now. Maybe that's where she went. Yeah. Anyway, and we're told her attendants are abusing the servitors of Jagannath. They're cursing them, calling them bad names, speaking foul, making jokes about them. They arrest them, they're handcuffing them. They're abusing them in so many ways. And Mahaprabhu is saying, what's this? What kind of... But it's told, they're putting their hands over their mouths, they're laughing. But he asked Swarup Damodar for some kind of a description about what's going on here. And he's saying, this is peculiar. They say, because normally, if the beloved is neglected by her beloved, she may let herself go listlessly, sitting around, dragging her finger on the earth and the sand, wherever, just in a very morose mood. See, but this, we don't, and that we've seen many examples of. That sort of behavior coming as a part of neglect. But here, she's dressed and all of her, she's showing how much opulence she possesses and flaunting her opulence, right, as a result of neglect. So Mahaprabhu wants Rup Damodar to explain that. And he starts giving some very high, wonderful, deep, inconceivable explanations about that. But at a particular point, Srivas Thakur says, but it doesn't make any sense. Look at the opulence of Lakshmi Devi. It's unparalleled. Remember, she's Lakshmi of Vaikuntha, Lakshmi Narayan. Right? She is the goddess of fortune. Right? So he's saying, why would Krishna leave Dwarka with all this unparalleled opulence for Vrindavan when all they have is like milk, cows, trees, flowers? What do they have there in comparison to the unlimited opulence of Vaikuntha? I don't get it. That's what he's saying. And that's when Mahaprabhu tells Srivas Thakur, oh, Srivas, be careful of what you say in front of Srup Damodar. He's a Shuddha Brijbasi. Meaning, we hear people talking about Brijbasis. Mahaprabhu says Srup Damodar is a Shuddha Brijbasi. We should be concerned with him and those in connection with him. This particular quality of Brijbasi. And he said he doesn't know what Aiswarja means. It's not a word in his dictionary. Then all of this is meant to, let me say, stir, arouse the sort of devotion that's in the heart of Srup Damodar. So Srup Damodar now starts speaking. He says, no, it's not that I don't know what is opulence. He said, Srivas, I think you've lost your mind. You've become forgetful about what is actually Vrindavan. And he said, you say, the gopi, they only have milk and flowers and things. He goes, where does that milk come from? The Kamadenu, right? The Surabhi cows, these divine cows. The Kamadenu means they fulfill all desires, right? As mentioned in the Brahma Samhita. What does it say? I forget the Sanskrit, but anyway, he's saying, and that world where every kata ganam natyam gamanam, where all speech is song, all movement is dance, and the trees, what are they? Kalpa vriksha. Right? They're desire-fulfilling trees. And the soil, chintamani, prakara sadmasu, kalpa vriksha, lakshavrateshu, surabhi abhi palyantam, lakshmi, sahasra sadrasam brahma sevyamanam, govinda maripurusham tamahamajami. And he says, chintamani's charana bhushana mangananam. That world, the soil is made of chintamani gems, which are of inconceivable value. So when we told that all those universes in that pot, that's like an atom in the spiritual world. He says here, all the opulence of Vaikuntha and Dwaraka, one Chintamani gem possesses more opulence than the whole of Vaikuntha and Dwaraka together. And Chintamani's Charanabhushana Mangananam, the Braja Gopis string these Chintamani gems and they're wearing them on the ankles of their holy lotus feet. So what's opulence and what's not opulence? So if in that world, that is what we're told, it's around 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers in size. It's a prakrita. It's human-like proportion and dimensions, like hinted at by Vamadev. He takes the 3 steps, but he's a dwarf. Right? All the opulence of Goloka, it is suppressed. It's in a suppressed position. It can come out at any time out of service necessity. So in that world, where everything is in human-like proportion, Krishnera Jateka Kela Sarutam Naralila Naravapu Tahara Swarup Gopa Vesh Venukar Navakishore Natabara Naralila Hoy Anurup. Everything in human-like dimension and pastimes. And the soil, and an atomic part of there is the whole Vaikuntha world and Dwaraka world. And the spiritual sky. And in one little tiny place, the so-called Ekpad Vibhuti, is that little section with the innumerable mundane universes. So what happens when they don't manifest? It doesn't change anything about Goloka. This whole Goloka world, Dwaraka, Vaikuntha, that is, what does it say? Parastasmat tubhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana jivanam sarvabhuteshu. Anyway. That part remains always as it is. But for some time, the material creation comes to give this opportunity to the jiva souls. And then it vanishes for time and comes and goes, like these seasons. And where are these things out? From Srimad Bhagavatam primarily, some in Brahma Samhita, Chaitanya Charitamritam, Bhagavat Purana, different places. Yes.
You already answered their second question, which was, who is he in reality?
Who is who?
He with capital, meaning God. But you already told.
Well, as we told, the one poet said, the human is higher than God. And all the secular humanists, they were very happy to hear that. But Guru Maharaj said that's not what he meant. What he was saying is, there's God concept. We were talking about this the other day. When you hear God referred to in our literature, Bhagavatam, Charitamrita, etc., most often the word Ishwar is used. Just like in that song, Brahma Samhita, Ishwara Parama. Who's Ishwara, the supreme God? Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. And the original one, Anadir Adir, what? Doesn't say Ishvara again. Here, Govinda. It's getting more personal and more defined. So, the word Ishwar means God. But when we deal with, Parameshwara, the supreme Ishwara, then we start getting more specific, meaning Krishna. Shama Goparup, Govinda, Krishna, appearing as a cowherd boy, specific to his form. Yam Shama Sundarama Chintraguna Swarupam. That Krishna. God is a general term. So Saraswati Thakur, he preferred the word Godhead because it's more systematic and extensive. The word God is kind of impersonal, actually. We prefer personal, more personalized names of God. And Krishna has innumerable such names.
Yes. Next question is from Mahayogi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
We know it is not good to criticize others, but sometimes excesses are committed. Prabhupada was very outspoken. When should we speak out and when should we hold our tongue? When is criticism a virtue and when is silence a sin?
No, as a basis for this, we have the Kim Karma, Kim Akarmeti, Kaviyovidu. Even the Kovida, those in the know, they're bewildered in trying to understand this point. Because, and Krishna speaks about action and inaction and inaction and action. So when to say something and when to hold one's tongue. And I'm reminded of Guru Maharaj saying that there's a song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I forget which one, but in that song, it's mentioned, perhaps hearing some Mayavadis or Sahajis, some other thing, and saying, hearing such things, Bhakti Vinod becomes silent and withdraws. I'm paraphrasing. And Guru Maharaj says, but Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Shranga Goswami Maharaj, he would say, but not Saraswati Thakur. So, and it shows Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Bhakti Vinod said in the song, when I hear these kinds, then I have nothing to say. I withdraw from that position. And what is Srila Goswami Maharaj saying? But Saraswati Thakur will challenge them. He'll say something. But that Saraswati Thakur explains why. For example, in Radha Kunda, he is there with 500 men, ostensibly, this big parikrama group, and they're visiting the northeastern corner of Radha Kund, the place of Raghunath Das Goswami, our line, everything, Prayojan Tattva Acharya. And one of the pandas there, because Das Goswami says in his Mana Shiksha, that Bu Suragana, that the Brahmins are the devas of this world, and I pray for their blessings. So they're visiting those holy places. Our section, Raghunath Das Goswami, the Prayojan Tattva Acharya, and unthinkingly, that panda says, our family, they're so exalted, they can give blessings to Das Goswami. And this infuriates Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So now we'll serve everyone prasad. And Saraswati Thakur, he's not taking anything, and none of his devotees are going to take anything. Now it's an awkward situation. You know how it is in India about taking prasadam. So you can imagine. Now the guru, he refuses to take anything from you, and none of his disciples will. And that man's like, why? He said, because you've offended the holy lotus feet of Raghunath Das Goswami, who's, our Prayojan Tattva Acharya of the Rupanuga line. What? How? Then someone, perhaps Goswami, they explained to him the offense. Then he, being, a simple-hearted person, realizes he's committed some big offense unintentionally, but still acknowledges that, falls at the feet of Saraswati Thakur, begs forgiveness, pleads his ignorance, and everything is righted. But then, Srila Saraswati Thakur says, if I was here by myself doing bhajan, right? He was, a bhajan, just doing his bhajan there alone. And something like that came to my ear, I would just leave. Leave that person, go away from him, go somewhere else. So I won't have to hear these. I won't make an issue out of it. He said, but I'm here as an acharya. I've come here with 500 men. And he said, and I'm in a motor car. It was like a big deal then. So like where everyone's going barefoot, he shows up in he's got a chauffeur-driven car, and with 500 people on parikrama, and he's the acharya of Sri Gaudiya Mat, and someone's just offended the Prayojan Tattva Acharya, the Rupanuga line. He said, so I have to say something. I have to take a position. So it's not an egoistic assertion. He wants to assert himself over another, humiliate somebody else. Not like that. But for the dignity of the Guru Varga, he's willing to be accused of not being humble, even. And Guru Maharaj said to him, Shri Jiva Tejastiti, same kind of tej, strength of Jiva Goswami. Same thing for Jiva Goswami. When that conquering Pandit, the Digvijay, approached Rupa Goswami, to get him to sign his paper that he's defeated him in debate. Rupa Goswami, he's writing, the Vidagdha Madhava or Lalita, signs his name just to get rid of the person. Same thing for Sanatana Goswami. But when the man shows this paper, and it's got the names of Jiva Goswami's Guru Varga, Rupa and Sanatan, he tears that paper to pieces and said, that's not possible. I'm their disciple. You have to defeat me. And then some people say, oh, see, Jiva Goswami is not humble like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who's saying, Jagai madhai hoite muise papista purise rakita hoite muise lagista. I'm more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, I am lower than the world. That's humility. Also, Vrindavan, this ego, a certain jiva, they're telling like that. But not Saraswati Thakur. We're praising Jiva Goswami. He is willing to sacrifice his own name and fame, his prestige, that he's a humble Vaishnava, to keep the dignity of our Guru Varga. So if it's really something like that, and Srila Gurudev's quote comes to mind where he said, my religion is finding fault with myself. Right? So it'll be healthier for us to cast the critical eye inward. Guru Maharaj is always saying, oil your own machine. Don't worry about others. But if there's some context where someone is abusing Guru, they're abusing the scriptures, especially those promoting the divinity of Krishna or Mahaprabhu, and someone has the capacity to defend Guru and Vaishnava, to defend, Krishna-loving people's scriptures, then they have some obligation to be silent when you have the capacity to protect Guru and Vaishnava. Then there's some fault on our part as well. But generally, the Vaishnavas are avoiding, particularly being critical of other Vaishnavas. Vaishnava Aparad. Anything else? Was that his question? Yes. Okay. All right. One more, if there is, or if it's relevant.
This one is from Chinmay Bhaktavrinda. In the 10th chapter of the Revealed Truth, Srila Gurudev says that Karma Yoga leads to Svargaloka, the higher plane of the mundane world. But the first answer of Ramananda Rai in the Ramananda Sambad is Sarvadharma Charane Vishnu Bhakti Haya. So somehow our duties can bring us to Vishnu Bhakti. How is it possible?
Well, I think the answer is built in there. Gurudev is saying, this is generally where karma, karma yoga or karma whatever? Yeah, takes one. But are there instances where someone can go higher? Yes, but it's rare. And what do we learn from Ramananda Sambad? Not likely at present. There's no time for this kind of stuff in Kali Yuga. Right? People living for what? Hare Krishna.
He was under your chin.
All right. The Australians will tell you the good they're doing. So, taking advice, Australian tattva, we'll go with that. Yeah. There's karma, imam vivasvate yogam proktavana hammavyam vivashvan maname praha manur iksvakave bravit. Sometimes Guru Maharaj will say, what Krishna is saying there is, I instructed this science of karma yoga to the sun god. So it depends on the capacity of the practitioner. Sukadeva Goswami heard about karma yoga from Janaka Maharaj, right? Yeah. But generally speaking, what did it say? In the Gita, I forget the line. Kine punye marchalokam vishalam. Te tam bhuktva swargalo. Yeah, that's what Gurudev's talking about. Te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam. Ashnanti divyan divi devi bhogan. It's Krishna. He's quoting Krishna in the Gita, saying, through karma yoga, generally they go up to the higher planetary systems and enjoy. That's what Krishna says. That's generally what happens. And then kine punye marchalokam vishal. And after they exhaust their pious credits, yeah, everybody wants Mahaprabhu's mercy. They want Giriraj. They want to be on Gupta Govardhan. This is one of the Yat kinchit trigu makikata mukam goshte samastamitat sarvananda mukunda doitam. Let him go. Lilanu kulam param. Just, it's okay. Or if, well, Hare Krishna. They're smart. They're really clever, actually. But usually if you touch them a lot, they curl up like they're dead. And then you can throw them, and then they spring out again. Anyway, so it says, kinye punye. When they exhaust their pious activities, they come down here again. So they go up, down, up, down, up, down. That's generally what happens. Are there instances where someone goes higher and beyond that? Yes, but rare. And it's Varnashram was that system, how society can march as a whole, march from Neshans to Vaikuntha. But not now, there's not enough time. And no one's properly qualified. So what does Mahaprabhu say? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kaloa nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. So the nasteva, nasteva, nasteva is sometimes mean not by karma, yoga, gyan, anyway, only nam sankirtan. Hare Krishna. I guess it's Friday night. So all the reptiles and insects are.
I had a big scorpion at the front step.
Oh, really? What's the Russian word? Huh? We had one last year. The one that Indulekha did the film about. You mean the red one?
No, this is a scorpion.
Oh, scorpion. What's the centipede called? Scolopendra. That's what I know. Oh, we had a scorpion. Did anyone get bit?
No, Govinda caught him.
And then what? Took him to somebody else's property.
Flushed him down the toilet.
Oh, flushed him down the toilet. Okay. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we don't want to kill them. Guru Maharaj didn't like that. Gurudev didn't like that. Especially at a mat. Now, this is a mat, this is a holy place. Whoever's here, they're here. There may be instances where we have to relocate them. They have to enter the witness protection program. But not to kill them. Avoid that. Toilet flushing is okay. It doesn't kill them. They just enter another world. Krishna. Hari Harai Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namo.